And that happened out here about 15 miles down this road. So I don't think I've actually got that. And it might be kind of nice to do Laramie to something here. I can take out my four-wheel drive for a moment. So I filmed from south of Walden all the way to Laramie today, but I don't know if I'm going to use any of it. But man, there was some rough weather. Some of the footage that I got today should scare anybody. It scared me. When I got into Laramie an hour or two ago, south looked pretty good over to my left, and north over to my right, and actually it would be southeast and northwest. Looked pretty bad. Now, south looks pretty rough. It looks like there's a bit of a little storm over there. It's not solid, it's like one little storm, and then it looks like it's cleared up a little bit, but there's a lot of low clouds. Just really beautiful winter stuff, really. It's cool the way what weather does in the winter. And it's really cool how clouds and mountains interact. It's just real magical, really nice. These mountains, the Medicine Bow range, have gotten some snow in the last few days. I saw some pretty crazy drifts too, up north of Walden. So the snow has really been blowing. I drove through some pretty big drifts earlier today. I really couldn't see how big they were though, because it was whiteout conditions, but I made it through. Although one drift damn near got me. And I had no idea how big it was. And I only knew that it was a drift because it slowed the car down and it changed my direction. It was pulling me the way it wanted to pull me, which is what a big drift will do. Now the wind, you can't really tell. Well, you might be able to hear the wind actually, but the wind's whipping out there. It's really getting with it. It's almost head on. We're heading south, more south than west, so like south-southwest. And the wind is pretty much coming from the southwest. And that's pretty much normal for the wind out here when the wind is blowing. Although I have seen it come out of the northwest, and I think I've seen it come out of the southeast in the summertime. I talked a little bit earlier about making another video on my other channel, which is Old Town. I made a video about making a good repair on a jack. I did a video about a 50-ton jack. I repaired it, but the repair didn't last. And so I feel kind of bad about having that video out there. Not been able to make a permanent repair, but at the time, how I have known, you know. So it's taken a couple of years and a little bit of thinking, and I've been busy, but I finally got around to fixing that jack by making my own gasket out of lead solder. Wow. I think that's snow. I think. So I made a video about that to update my former video. It'll be interesting to see if anybody watches it. I'm quite convinced that YouTube has still got their thumb firmly pressed on the exposure my channel gets, because it's just dead. I think the only reason that I have subscribers right now, well, there are a few people that have never seen it. They'll subscribe, but a few people, like they'll subscribe, and then some occasion I'll lose 3 or 4, I'll gain 3 or 4. It's quite anemic. I think for the most part, the subscribers that are still there just don't even care whether they're subscribed to it or not. As I'll go through my list on YouTube, and I'll take channels out that for some reason I don't want to watch anymore, or they don't exist anymore, or whatever, you know, or the thing that was interesting is no longer something that I need to know. And so that way I don't have to go through a list of hundreds of things that I've subscribed to, because it's kind of awkward to get through that list. At least with, TV controls. With a computer or your phone, it's probably a lot quicker. Okay, so there's the facility that makes furniture. The other facility does wood. They do something, I'm not sure what it is. There's no name there. But I get too confused. There's two facilities out the side of town that work with wood. The other facility has giant piles of logs all around it, and it looks like they make pallets of one thing. And maybe up here, I'm seeing some bumps that look that way. No, maybe not. Maybe that's just a house. So I found my little 8-ounce container of cream and had that. That's actually 100 calories now. It's 800 calories in that little thing. I think it's, well, I want to be awake and alert through this traffic or through this weather that we get to go through. I get to go through. If it's anything like the weather that I had to go through to get here today, I certainly want to be awake, alert, and on my toes. And I think that cream, which is mainly fat, which is mainly energy. When you're on a keto type diet, you burn your fat. Which is why when you change from a typical, standard American diet to a keto diet, you typically lose a lot of weight. Because now you're actually burning some of that fat you have on your body. And additionally, you don't carry as much water. Because apparently the glucose, I can't think of the chemical name for it, but the sugar that is part of the standard American diet, the sugar and carbohydrates, which is the energy source of a carbohydrate diet, relies on water for its transport or its storage. I think it's like 1.9 grams of water or 1 gram of glucose, whatever it is. So you carry a lot of water weight on a carbohydrate diet. When you switch to a keto diet, you don't carry that water. So you lose that water weight. these guys are giving me a preview of what's to come. Probably. Apparently, I-70 might be closed today. Seeing all these cars like this, yeah, that makes me suspicious that there's a road in Colorado that's closed. Seeing all that truck traffic coming down this way. And it could be, because the main storm did go that way today. Anyway, back to the keto. So you lose water. And then a side effect of that I went through was you lose your water, and you also lose your electrolytes, which are also stored in this water. And so you have to, for me, I had to start taking supplements, electrolytes, salts of metals. And that helped a lot. I was having some issues with that. That was probably the only thing that I had with changing over to a keto diet that was a little bit rough, because I didn't know I would have those issues, but I did find out. So I had some cramps. I mean, I was out of electrolytes, and if you're out of electrolytes, your body doesn't operate very well, and you cramp very easily. Leg cramps, whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, whatever, any muscle that could cramp might cramp. Okay, I'm gonna slow down here for a second. Oh, I did that at 41. Cool. Put my four-wheel drive in. See if I can get back up to speed. I think I'll drop my speed a little bit. I don't particularly like the way the road is starting to look. Getting a bit frosty looking. This little car really has to work in this section of this road, because it's gaining in altitude a little bit. And we're getting a lot of headwind. It's not directly a headwind here, but it's a crosswind, but there's enough that's really slowing me down. And I also noticed a semi-truck in the car ahead of me, so I'm probably going to need to relax and not think that I'm going to get up the pass quickly today. 2 trucks ahead of me. And a car. that I can see. Who knows what else? Oh yeah. Well, I was also saying earlier that the speed limit on this road, all the way to the top of this pass, is actually 65. The advisory speeds are relatively reasonable, but they're advisory speeds. And I did mention that that was quite brilliant of Wyoming to do it that way. Now, when this road is clear and you can see the passing lanes, you know, you're probably stuck behind a slow vehicle quite a bit. And in that situation, it doesn't really matter that the speed limit is 65, because you're likely going to be stuck behind somebody going slower than that. So the speed limit is sort of self-regulating, I guess is what I'm saying, on this road. And the people that set it up, that was good thinking on their part. I give them 2 thumbs up for them. Well, it's just genius, right? This road, the speed takes care of itself. Now, I don't really know if there are any or many passing lanes all over this road. All I know is that if I can't see whether there is a passing lane or not, then I have to, if I'm trying to pass or contemplating passing, then I have to decide whether I can see far enough ahead to pass. And so, in a way, that's also a sort of a self-regulating issue, because if you get behind something pretty big or get behind a few cars, you're not going to be able to pass. And this car is not it doesn't have a big motor in it. It's a little baby motor. So, and although I got lucky and got around that traffic, who knows what's up here? Who knows what else is up here going extremely slow. Or maybe not. I did notice that there weren't that many people on the road coming out of Laramie. So I think most people know the weather is really poor up here. And it is really poor up here. No doubt about that. But I don't think I've ever filmed this entire route. There's a lot of areas I haven't filmed. Some roads you just can't even get on this time of year. Right now there's probably snow machine trails, but in the summertime they're really cool roads. Well, Case in point, have a little car here. I'm getting it. Oh. This is one of the reasons that I say this is a great snow car and a terrible dry road car. And it's pretty easy to see if you watch how I drive and how traffic interacts with me depending on the condition of the road. Because I get passed quite frequently on dry roads. I'm not a big speeder, not at all. But in this stuff, I do my best to drive to the conditions, and this car is exceptional in the snow. I've never had a better car, ever, in the snow. So, and I have a bit of confidence in it, which is helpful, but I still try to be cautious. I believe that we're over in the shoulder there. Yeah. Shoulder again. So Rap Cat is taking his time. Go ahead and turn my parking lights on. I'll turn my headlights on. We may have a few miles of this. We may have a few tens of miles of this. But I've actually seen it worse up here. This is really not. This is not that unusual for up here. It's just usually up here and it tapers off once you drop back down. And I'm not sure what this pass is called, or if it's even called a pass, but it certainly is a pass. There's a pretty large plateau up here where you still go up and down and around some corners. But this really, I mean, this truly is a pass. It's as much of any road that takes you over the top of a mountain is I think a lot of the winter driving where people are going really, really slow is that they just don't do it very often. And they could be scared. And rightly so. You don't want to, you don't want to get stuck up here. And I don't want to get stuck up here either. But I do know the roads pretty well. I know the condition of the snow. I know how this car reacts in the snow reasonably well to be able to predict how fast I should be going, when I should slow down, and all that stuff. I mean, that is a lot of what experience can teach you. So when you see the riding shotgun guy in his truck going what would appear to be carelessly fast, it really isn't. He knows his truck. He knows the snow. He knows the weather. He knows his tires. He knows his weight. He knows how his truck will handle in the wind. He knows, and he knows the roads. So there are still variables. I mean, other people are variables. And he's mentioned that he's not real happy when he gets behind bars. I don't blame him. I feel the same way. So, and you don't see too many people passing. Mountain Mike, is that his stage name for YouTube? You don't see too many people passing him in the snow. So, but he's done it a lot. He knows what he's doing. This guy. And it's experience. So for people that don't know how to drive in this stuff or haven't driven in this stuff, I mean, this is certainly a learning curve. I think I'd mentioned before, it's taken me several years to develop whatever skill I may have, or the experience that I've gotten. If I've learned anything, it's taken a long time. And yeah. And by the way, I carry a lot of emergency gear in this car. I definitely don't want to get stuck. But if I do get stuck somewhere, I want to have, the resources that I need to get out of a situation like this in as much safety and, for that matter, comfort as possible. So I've got a lot of extra clothes, food, shovels. I don't carry too many tools because I've realized that the best thing that I can do for a vehicle is try to make sure it has oil, it's kept up well, I just check it over and try to catch things that might be going funny with it and fix them. But as hard as it is when you're in your shop working on a car, when you're actually trying to fix something, having the right tool that you need, it's impossible for me to carry the tools that I would need to carry to be able to get myself out of a situation. Not only that, but more than likely when your car breaks down, you'll also need parts. You'll need fluids. gasket. See, I mean, you need all this stuff that you can't carry in an emergency toolkit. So I do carry a few hand tools, but I realize that if my car breaks down, it's not something. If I can't fix it with hand tools that I have, it's probably going to need to be towed. And that's just how it is. If I had a bigger vehicle, if I had a service truck, and I could carry a bunch of tools, that'd be a different story. Because then I could carry spare engine parts that are known to fail. I could carry an air compressor, just different things that you just can't carry in a little car like this. And even so, breaking down in a storm like this, in an environment like this, it's really not a good place to be standing outside and working on metal that's getting colder and colder, because most likely if you're working on something, your engine has stopped and is cooling off. So I don't carry many specialized tools. I just carry some basic hand tools, but I do carry a couple shovels, brooms. I try to keep extra windshield stuff with me. That's a bit difficult, though, depending on the temperature and where you're at. You can go through a lot of that stuff really fast. Right now, the place that eats that up for me is Steamboat. So we just made it into Colorado. So we have driven all the way from Laramie, Wyoming, West Laramie, to the state line. And we just got off Highway 130, which was a Wyoming road. We're now on Highway 127, which is the Colorado road. And that will stay 127 until we get down to the intersection about 10 miles down the road here. I'll point it out to you. Okay. Like the Colorado side has got some stuff for us. So I'm going to slow down a little bit. So if I decide to end the video here, for everyone that's watched, especially to the end, thanks for watching. And if you're driving somewhere, drive safe, and I'll see you later. Now, if I keep going, well, I guess that still applies. What we got going on here? Is that a UPS truck? It does look like a UPS truck. Whoa. Pretty big drift over there. So too much. Okay. That would have been a side truck. I couldn't have done that. That drift really, you probably couldn't tell, but that drift over on that side of the road, I forgot about that. It was pretty big coming up here, and it got me. And I kept my power on to get through it. If I would have dropped my power, it would have probably pulled me off into the ditch right there. As I was passing, so can be risky to pass. I'm looking way over the top. Because I can pass, because I already saw there was nobody there. You probably saw that better than me, but I was able to see this section of road. And so I knew there was no one here, and I knew that there was no way that anybody could actually get there for the few seconds that I was behind the truck. I'm not able to see, see around that truck for just that short moment of time. Like I've talked about it before, that the slowest person on the road is not necessarily the best driver. The same can be said for the fastest person too. But the bell curve, where most people are, that's why it's a bell curve, that is where most of the poor drivers are. That's where the mediocre drivers are. The good drivers are on one end of the bell curve, and the really bad drivers are on the other. And you can plot that out by the speeds that people go, and you'll find that the same thing. Like if I go faster than I'm going, I believe that I give myself a little bit of tolerance, to get through things. I believe that I stay under the speed so that I have some safety, a factor, a safety margin. But somebody could come along and pass me at any moment, and they might actually be in the same situation where they have a safety, same kind of deal. But there's a point at which you go too fast for conditions. And that doesn't matter if they're dry or if they're nasty like this. The trick is having a sense of your speed, how fast you can go. See, I want to check this ice because it looks, no, it's still pretty good. It doesn't look good, but it checks pretty good. So just so you know, I'm doing the speed limit here. Maybe a touch over. but I'm entirely alert. I'm paying attention to what's coming up. So I'm just, I want to make it home tonight. I don't want to end up in a ditch. I don't want to end up on the giving or receiving end of a wreck. And I want to be making coffee tonight and probably watching YouTube. That's what I want to be doing tonight. And so everything that I'm doing is so that I am able to do that. It does sound like I've got some snow buildup going on. So lately I'm getting ready to do a little project where I'm probably going to have to cast some brass and make some rough parts. Thinking about making a boiler feed pump, a little one, for a steam generator that I'm building. I've pieced together what would work with a bunch of brass fittings and some check valves. So that will certainly work for me. But it's ridiculously big and it's ridiculously expensive. So I decided, well, I'll go ahead and I'll consider casting a form that I can machine to make this little pump, because I can make the pump quite compact that way. And if I design it properly, I can use the minimum of fittings, which will make me happy. And so to that end, I got online and I looked at some metal suppliers. I have no idea what the price of brass is. I had no idea what the price of brass was. Well, I know now. They wanted $21 for the brass, and I'm sure I would have paid shipping because brass is heavy. $21 a pound. And so I got on eBay and looked around, and I found a few different assortments. I found a 25-pound brass assortment for $45. It had some steel in it, it had some metal in it, or some ferrous metal in it, but not much. So I got that. So for the price of 2 pounds of brass, the casting brass, which would be nice to have, it's high quality, I have roughly 25 pounds of perfectly fine, probably C360, I think that's the alloy. Could be wrong about that. Brass for $2 a pound. When that got my interest going to wonder if I could find even better deals on brass. By the time I was done, I bought 100 pounds of brass for probably $400. All said and done, that if I use just as the fittings, it's actually a much more substantial savings. If I use it just for the brass, it's still like 400% better. So what I'll do is I'll go through the brass and I'll find the fittings that I don't need as much, or fittings that are maybe a little bit messed up or maybe incomplete, something, and I'll make a pile of parts that I can just grab and cast with. And so in a way, I have a pretty good, not the best of both worlds, although even with 100 pounds of assorted fittings, I still won't have all the fittings that I'll need, because there are so many different brass fittings. It's like I can never go to the hardware store and grab all the fittings I need, come home and finish my project without yet again going to the hardware store and getting more fittings. Oh, again, master. So I'm kind of gearing up to get this done. I have no idea what your view looks like, but oh, it looks kind of good, considering how much junk is getting thrown up in the air. How much crap is getting spit out. And I need to be pretty close behind this guy if I'm going to have any chance of getting around him. So I've got to put up with this stuff. Can't see. Okay, I can see now. It looks like a vehicle is off the road here. I'm gonna leave them alone because I'm not gonna be of any help to those guys here. And I don't want to be sitting in this. I'm gonna let them. Wow. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, I'm not gonna get out in that. They're not hurting. They're just stuck. And they may not even be stuck. They may just be sitting there. Because they're not, well, they roughed over a little bit. We'll let the state patrol handle that. Well, I can say that conditions are a little worse here than they were earlier today. Yeah. I thought that was a horse trailer. Huh. I do have my lights on, yes. Okay. I kind of learned my lesson with this car. What I can pull out and what I can't. Who I can help and who I can. And those guys look like, like something bigger needs to help. Not only that, but I don't want to stop there. I'm not going to stop in that mess. I'll have some vehicle with really nice bright strobe lights stop there. A highway rig. Somebody with seriously good lighting so that people can see what's going on. Yeah, this is one hell of a day. Man, this wind is, I'll bet that's a 60-mile-an-hour wind. Maybe I should pay attention to it, slow down a little bit. Yeah. Good grief. I don't know if I want to mess with rabbit ears today. Well, I think they close rabbit ears if it gets too bad. I think that there's actually maybe it's 40 that it goes. I thought there was a gate up there somewhere. We'll find out. Yeah, just last week, cruising through North Park, and it was just beautiful. Wow. This is treacherous.